All right. So welcome everybody to our second session of Ready, Set, College. This is our webinar series, walking seniors or even really eager juniors through the process of college applications. And I am so glad you're here tonight. Tonight, we're going to talk all about essays, which is my very favorite possibly thing to talk about. So I am extra excited to be here. I don't know if you're excited to be here. Not everybody loves college essays the way that I do. So hopefully it's a little bit contagious as we talk about things tonight. My name is Allison Steife. If you weren't here 2 weeks ago for our first session, I'm one of the BEC College and Career Counselors. If you ever want to get a hold of me, maybe after this to ask more questions or in the future about other topics, you can always send me a DM on our Instagram account at Baker Early College or send me an email. Those are the two best ways to get a hold of me as a student or a parent, family, whoever you might be. So nice to meet you if we haven't met. And let me start by acknowledging that just like the applications themselves, which we talked about 2 weeks ago, and all the nitty-gritties of that, the essay process for some people is what is especially overwhelming. If you don't feel like you're a writer and this is going to be potentially the weakest spot of your application, you're not alone. And I'm going to help you out starting with tonight. So if you feel confused or lost, I'm going to help you kind of get a grasp tonight on what a really good college essay looks like so you can feel a little more confident as you jump into them. If you missed 2 weeks ago, the recording is available on our blog. In fact, I will share the link to these slides in our chat right now, so you can click that link whenever you need to or want to. For tonight, like I said, I'm glad you're here. We're going to make the most of your essays. And then in 2 weeks, we're going to talk about paying for college. And so that is going to be, just like this, Monday at 5 in 2 weeks. But back to tonight. We're going to look at the types of essays that you're going to find on possible college applications, the do's and don'ts of the writing, the actual response that you're going to put together, the process, just kind of some tips and tricks for this writing process in particular, and just some of my favorite resources to help get you thinking and writing after this. So we'll jump right into the different types of admissions essays. We're not going to talk about every single type and prompt tonight, but these are the biggest ones that you can expect to see. First and foremost being the Common App personal statement. So if you hear terms like personal statement, admissions essay, those things are usually synonymous. It's like the big essay, usually around 650 words, that goes along with your college app. Not every college requires an essay, but if they do, it's going to look similar to one of the prompts, if not exactly like one of the prompts on the Common App. So here are those prompts. A background, identity or interest or talent that's meaningful to you. A time when you faced a challenge, setback, or failure. A time when you questioned or challenged a belief or idea. An accomplishment, event, or realization that sparked a period of personal growth. A topic, idea, or concept you find so engaging that it makes you lose all track of time. Something that someone has done for you that has made you happy or grateful, or literally anything else. On the Common App, the final prompt is an essay of your choosing, a prompt of your choosing, basically. So the gist, hopefully you're getting when you look at these prompts and when you think about what a personal statement is, it's really your chance. This is your chance to be a person in your application. This is your chance not to be a number like your GPA, not to be a list of activities like your extracurriculars, not to be what people say about you like your letters of rec, not to be your score on an SAT or ACT. This is your chance to show them the human being behind the application, mixed in with the application at the very front, hopefully, of the application. It's really your chance to share your voice, your personality, and your strengths that might lie outside of the classroom, outside of your activities. Give a really kind of you put your best foot forward, you put your most authentic foot forward through this essay. So what they want to know too, really, through prompts like this is who's going to show up on our campus? How are they going to act in the classroom? What are they going to bring? What are they going to bring to the table? So when you look at these prompts, there's kind of this this question behind the question is, I guess, what I'll call it. They're not being sneaky, really, but it's just, what are they trying to get at when they ask you a time when you questioned or challenged a belief or idea? They want to know that you are capable of thinking outside your own box, of coming to college ready to expand your horizons and not just like hold on white knuckled to the way you see the world. They want to know that you're capable of questioning or challenging beliefs and ideas that you have. That is what college is about in a lot of ways, is growing, expanding, and letting yourself be challenged. A time when you faced a challenge, setback, or failure. They want to know, what they're asking here is, can you fail and bounce back? Because at college, there's a very good chance that you're going to fail. I had nearly 4.0 leaving high school. I spent a year at community college, got a 4.0, jumped into my university and got a D on my first test. I was not used to failure. And this would have been a really good essay for me to reflect on before going to college, because that was really the first time I had faced academic failure, at least in a class that I expected to shine in, right? So they want to know, how can you bounce back? Because you probably will need to in college, even if you don't think you will. So they want to know that you're capable of these things. They want to know that you're capable of gratitude and joy. This last prompt that's on here, right? That you're able to see the good in the world and let it make you a better person. So really look for the question behind the question as you're thinking about what kind of story you want to tell, what kind of response you want to write. I talked a lot about this as I was going over those, but really just to hit it home, they are assessing, as they read your responses to these things, your story, your voice, your personality. They want to know, who is this person? What is it like to have a conversation with them? What kinds of what way would they, how would they be in a group as they're learning something new? What would it be like? Because a lot of schools don't get to interview you. What would it be like to sit down and chat with this person? So that's when I say, like, really be authentic with your voice and your personality. Don't feel like you have to just put on this like shiny, what you think they want from you face. And we'll get into it, the nitty gritties of kind of how to do that a little later. They want to know what's missing from your application. Only so much of your story can be told through the questions on an application and your transcripts and activities. Like, they want to know, this is your chance to really share with them especially if you feel like there's something big and important about who you are missing from your application, or that's not evident that you want to be evident. Absolutely, they're assessing your writing ability. You're going to college. They want to know that you can write at a college level. So can you use appropriate grammar? What's your vocabulary like? Like, they want to know that you can, because most college classes, you're writing essays. So they want to know that you can be successful and you can write a successful essay. And then they want to know, again, what would you contribute to their classrooms, campus, community? So what What colors do you have to offer their rainbow and their tapestry on their campus? So when you think about, okay, I know what the questions are and I kind of know what they're getting at and what they want to hear from me. How do I actually write that? There are two major types of responses that are usually successful at doing this, at giving them the kinds of responses that they're going to be excited to read, that they're going to want to read, they're going to have fun reading. And so the first one is narrative. You guys are probably seniors in high school at this point. Hopefully you've written a narrative and learned about narrative forms, but just to jog your memory, a narrative is a story, a cohesive story that conveys an important theme and still has a thesis and a message, but it's conveyed through a story. What I want to emphasize here is if you're going to tell a story that only you can write. Or if not a story only you can write, like if the story itself is maybe not unique, the way that you tell it should be. So, if you're telling, if you want to write an essay about dyslexia, let's say you're dyslexic and you feel like that's really important for them to know, and you want to tell your story of dyslexia. So there are plenty of students in the world who have dyslexia. So maybe that's not like a unique thing to experience, but the way that you experienced, how it's shaped you as a person, a student, a future professional, that is going to be unique. So, and the way that you write it is going to be unique because you're you and nobody else is you. And that is your strength when writing your personal statement, is that you are you and nobody can tell a story quite the same way that you would. So telling a narrative, telling a story, something that shows what you're capable of and what you value is usually important. So again, it's like a narrative that addresses, and really a lot of those prompts are like a time when you were challenged, right? So they're almost asking you to tell a narrative, to tell a story through a lot of those prompts. So they're setting you right up for this. And make sure it shows, not tells. We're going to talk more about what that means. But again, if you've gotten this far in high school, you've probably talked about this in one of your literature classes, hopefully. If not, I'm going to jog your memory. So showing who you are, what you're like, rather than telling them. Another great way to get at the personal statement is through something called a montage. A montage. So maybe if you haven't really thought about what this means when it comes to writing, at least in film, you've probably definitely experienced it. It's that part of the movie where maybe a scene is passing, like a bunch of scenes are clipped together over a period of time, and they're giving you little snippets of something. And it usually conveys a feeling. You don't get the whole story. And sometimes it's not even a story. Sometimes, especially when you think about when it comes to writing a montage, it can feel less like a film montage sometimes and more like kind of like a collage, a writing collage, if you will. But we're going to stick with the word montage because that's technically what it is. So ways that you can use the montage as your writing platform is to tie a bunch of little ideas through one setting or theme, or share one value that is demonstrated through a variety of settings. So when it comes to college essays, an example of a montage, one that I heard of through College Essay Guy, who I'll share with you at the end. It was this great essay about, so the way she set it up, this girl was the stickers on her water bottle. So, or her laptop or something. We all, not everybody, but a lot of people collect stickers, right? And so she chose a handful of stickers, 4 or 5, and wrote about how each of them represented an aspect of who she was or what she valued. So that's not a story, right? But it's a concrete idea that is tying in important pieces of who this person is. Another montage idea I read a couple of years ago was a student who wrote about the ways that she experiences beauty. She chose like 4 or 5 different ways that she experiences beauty that were not quite typical ways that you would experience beauty. She was had kind of a scientific mind, and so the ways that she experienced beauty were kind of unique. If you were to write a montage about, so going back to something you can only write, this is true for montages too. Don't write an essay about like how you find flowers beautiful, because then anybody could write that, right? So she didn't write about how she found flowers beautiful. One kind of interesting and maybe one of my favorite kinds to read, depending on how well it's done, is the kind of essay that blends a narrative and a montage. I'm offering this as an option only if it feels like, ooh, yes, that lands with something that I could write. If it doesn't, don't try to make it happen, because then it's just going to be awkward. But one of my very favorite ones was from a student a couple of years ago that we went through the whole writing process together. And by the end, it was this amazing essay about how she raised chickens. And it was snapshots. So it was very montage like in a film. It was like snapshots over time of her chickens. And her process of getting ready for the chickens, getting the chicks, raising them. One died, but she pushed through and kept going and raised them. And so and each snippet really reflected a strength of hers. The first one was, her getting ready to raise the chickens, and it showed that she does a lot of research and is not afraid of hard work and manual labor. And then when she's talking about raising chicks, it really reflects how you have to be patient and self-sacrificing. It's about the flock. It's not about you. And then she talked about naming the chickens, and each of their names reflected something that she found fun. One was her favorite song to like play on the fiddle, and one was like her favorite vacation place she ever went to. Right. So each paragraph, it was short. It was not, the way that I'm describing it makes it sound like it goes on and on. Each paragraph was concise. It was clear. It told a story of her raising chickens, but it gave you snapshots of her as a person and the process. It was great. So if you feel like you have a story to tell, but you don't want to tell this cohesive thing, you just want to give snapshots of it, that's a way to kind of blend these two. Okay. So if you're hearing me say all this and you're thinking, this is a little different than I thought it was going to be, I thought I was supposed to just write a nice professional biography, then you're not alone. I've read a lot of those as first drafts. It's totally okay if you've already written that, like a nice little professional biography. It's a great way to brainstorm once you read back through that and really kind of realize what you want to emphasize and pull out of it and focus on. Is there one moment of that little biography that you really want to tell the story of? So a lot of people do go into it thinking, this is my personal statement. It's my, hi, nice to meet you. You never, ever want to start your entrance essay with, hi, my name is Allison Steife, and I am applying to your college. That's not what you're doing. They know your name. They see your file. They know you're applying to their college. Otherwise, you wouldn't be writing this essay. Don't waste any words or time on introductions. Don't waste any words or time on rephrasing the prompt as your intro. My name is Allison, and a time that I was challenged was when it's not as it can be. But again, tonight is all about writing an essay that admissions counselors want to read. and they want to read something that's interesting, that shows who you are. They don't want to read what you think they want to see. And if you start an essay that way, that's exactly what they think. They think you're just, here to kind of put your professional mask on and keep things really light and professional. And they don't want that. They really want to know who you are, and they want to have fun reading your essay. Okay. This really, I forgot this was the next slide, but this transitions perfectly. This quote is from 2020, kind of in the midst of COVID, but it's still very applicable to the climate of the world, and how a lot of people are feeling. And so this was a quote from the executive director of admissions at Indiana University. And she said, "During these difficult times, it will be encouraging for students and those reviewing these essay responses to be reminded of the joy and hope that generosity and gratitude can foster." They want to have fun reading your essay. They don't want to read complaints. They don't want to be bored. They don't want to read the same essay they've read 12 times before they picked up yours. They want to have fun. Let them have some fun, and you have some fun. They'll have fun if you had fun writing it. I think that's inevitable. So it's okay to write about something serious and heavy without your entire essay being serious and heavy. So keep that in mind. Okay. So that's the personal statement. That's like the meat and potatoes when it comes to admissions essays. And then the side dishes are these supplemental essays. Maybe a nice little dinner roll, some Brussels sprouts. I don't know why I continued with that metaphor. But these are the essays. Sometimes they'll say they're optional. Never, ever skip an optional essay. Don't think anything is optional when it comes to college apps. If they say you can do it, do it. So if it's optional, if it's an optional supplemental essay, just get rid of that optional. You're writing another essay. You're writing a supplemental essay. There's a few different versions of this supplemental essay. There's the "Why are you applying to our college?" essay, the "Why are you majoring, or do you want to major in the thing that you selected on your application?" There's the "Choose one extracurricular from your experiences and tell us more about it." There's the community essay, like the kind of "What have you contributed to your community growing up?" essay. The diversity essay is becoming more and more common. Basically, how do you view diversity, and what do you value about it? And then I love a good wildcard essay. This is kind of my etc. One of my favorites is if you could have any roommate, living or dead, real or fictional, who would it be? That is a great chance to have some fun. So these are your chance really to either expand on your application or show that you are really, with those first two, the "Why this college" and "Why this major," they're really assessing how intentional are you about your future. Do you know what you're getting into? What kind of research have you done about our college? Have you been to our campus? Why would you want to go here? And what have you done to prepare for the major that you're interested in? How will you fit in and contribute to our campus? When they're asking about your extracurriculars, they're saying, what are you doing outside of the classroom? And how are you contributing to your community? And especially if that community is diverse, how do you feel about being in a setting like that? They want to know basically, what haven't you already described in your personal statement that we want to know about? It's a good idea to look through your applications before you start writing your personal statement and see what kind of supplemental essays you're going to be writing so that your personal statement doesn't overlap with that. because really this is your opportunity to, say it all, and take advantage of each essay and say something different with each essay. And then again, when it comes to like the whole optional thing, are you someone who goes above and beyond or does the bare minimum? If you don't answer an optional question, that's like negative points on your application. So it shows like, okay, I did what I needed to submit. And for most colleges, that's not who they want on their campus. When you're writing these supplemental essays, keep in mind they're usually short and sweet, 150 words max, usually. That doesn't mean they can't be colorful, though. It just means you have to be a little more direct in your colors. So you're, again, demonstrating the research you've done and the experiences you've had. So kind of combining these two ideas, when you think about that, why are you applying to our college essay? What I would hate to see is an essay that could, like a response that could really be submitted for any college. I'm applying to your college because I really want that big campus feel. Like there's plenty of big campuses with that big, community diversity. So I would encourage you to really highlight an experience that you had that made you realize that college existed and you were excited about it. Maybe it's the moment that you stepped into the lab at the science building. You knew it's where you had to study chemistry. The way, what was it about that room that made you realize, like, this is where I need to do it? So it can still be a really brief, clear moment that says a lot about why you value their school and why you want to be there. They would way rather read that, even if it says less technically, than you could cram in with like an explanatory little essay. They're way more interested in that, in the fact that you're a human being and not just like especially in the world of AI now. Oh my gosh, could you probably absolutely just type request an essay for the Y college essay for any school, and it would create something for you, but it would create something that not a real person could write. So that is that jogs my memory of like, oh right, we need to talk about AI. I trust that none of our students would use AI to write their college essays. Like, wouldn't just be like, write me a college essay. When it comes to the question of can admissions counselors tell? The verdict is, it's right, they can't explicitly tell. So it's not like necessarily like they're going to be like immediately, oh no, this is AI, not accepted. They do have technology that can detect whether oh my gosh, what's the word when you take somebody else's words and ideas. They have technology that can detect that. So in some ways they could detect it, possibly. Like never ever just copy paste an essay that you found on the internet. They will know. The nuances of AI can make it slip through the cracks. But anyways, the verdict though is that yes, AI can write a decent admissions essay. No, it cannot write it in a way that makes the college counselor love that essay. That's what I've read in the articles I've read, the interviews I've read with admissions counselors. When they kind of test them and see, what did they think of this essay, and it's written by AI. It's never an extremely compelling essay. So far the verdict is careful, they could catch you. And 2, it's not going to write an essay better than you could if you really sit down and go through the process and have people helping you edit and all that jazz. So don't do it. When you're writing these supplemental essays, refer back to the personal statement prompts that you didn't answer, because there's potential to just kind of tie that in, tell them more about what they want to know about you through these supplemental essays. Like, as you contributed to your community, did you do it by, did you face a challenge and push through? Through the extracurricular that you were participating in, did you experience a time of personal growth? Probably. A source, again, if you can talk about a source of gratitude and joy, this is going to make them smile, and even if it's only in their hearts, and they'll enjoy your application more. So maybe if you're talking about diversity, you can talk about, somebody important in your life who helped you come to value that. Then last but not least, the last kind of essay that I'll touch on tonight is what I'll call the explanation essay, as just kind of this umbrella. It's kind of a teeny tiny umbrella. Some schools don't even offer you the chance to do it, but sometimes you get a chance to write an impact statement, like a COVID-19 or natural disaster impact statement. Like, has your education been impacted by something significant? Were there sometimes, if they're like, is there anything that you feel like you need to explain in your essay or in your application? Like maybe you had to take a semester off of high school for some reason, or maybe you failed every single class for a year and you feel like you need to explain why and what happened. Sometimes you have the opportunity to do that. So if you're questioning like whether to write this essay, this is a good one to check with your counselor, check with me, like see, hey, I have the chance to write an explanation essay. Here's the situation that I'm thinking about explaining. Should I? Because the really important thing with an explanation essay is not to come across as like a victim or like you're complaining about something. It's really important to use this essay very well if you feel like you need to. So this is a good one. I'm not going to talk about it a whole lot. Just check with me, check with your advisor and see what the verdict is. Get some ideas. Yeah. Okay, so those are the kinds of essays and the kinds of responses that you can expect to see and put together. So that's the bulk of like what tonight is about. It's really helping you understand it's not an explanation essay, unless it's that last one. It's not like an essay where it's not an introduction essay. Nice to meet you. Here's a little bit about who I am. It's going to be something powerful, something exciting, something that they want to read. And I'll get into a little bit here of like what does that look like? How do you kind of make that happen? So the do's and the don'ts. So when it comes to topics, as you're brainstorm, please do it. Like get in a room with somebody and write ideas on the wall and have them tell you what they think. Or just like do it even if it's by yourself, just like write everything out about like, okay, what do I think I could do? What could I write this personal statement about? So as you're brainstorming what the topic could be, please focus on just one topic or story. And do not, try to fit every idea in. I've read plenty of really unfortunate essays where, and a lot of times they are the like, nice to meet you. Let me try to tell you everything about who I am in 650 words. Essays that that do this. But sometimes it's even the essays that are like, I had a student who I think what they were really trying to do was kind of that like narrative mosaic, which is why I'm going to say be careful about doing it, because his turned into this kind of hodgepodgey story. It wasn't chronological, and there wasn't like a main idea through each snippet. So it was muddy. It was like a really muddy montage, where he talked about the plays he was in and the album that he wrote and the camp that he went to, and it was just a little bit too much and too all over the place, and didn't really, the general vibe was this guy likes music and that's great, but the way that it was written really tried to fit in too many ideas. So if you do that, just if you do feel like, wow, I wrote about a lot of things, that's a great time to pull somebody in and be like, hey, can you help me really hone all these ideas into something clear, like that conveys a really strong message. So don't try to fit everything in it. Choose one light bulb, make it shine really bright rather than like blinding them with like way too many and they can't even see what is happening. Okay. When it comes to the length, do make use of the full word count. Like I said, it's usually around 650 words. But in doing so, don't repeat yourself in order to fill the word count. Any reader, especially admissions counselors who are reading a lot of these essays, can tell the difference between somebody who has 650 words worth of something to say and somebody who tried to say something with 650 words. There's a big difference between having 650 words worth of something to say and being somebody who just tries their best to fill the word count and doesn't actually have a lot to say, but is just like, I feel like I need to use all 650 words. Okay. So be the person with 650 words to say. For a lot of people, this is not a struggle. It's hard to write a really great personal statement in 650 words. So this may not be your struggle, but if it is, again, pull an editor in, somebody who can help you out. When it comes to the opening, okay, so you guys, this is like your moment. When it comes to your opening, like the first line of your entrance essay, this is like your make or break it moment. These admissions counselors, you guys, they read so many essays. And so many of them start very similarly or like in a really boring way. I listened to a podcast one time who this admissions counselor was like, if I have to read one more essay that starts out with the introduction of this time I went on a service trip, I went to Mexico and I built houses for the homeless population, but I left more changed than the change I brought, or whatever that idea. I went on a service trip and I was the one who was changed, even though I went to change lives. That intro, it's not like a bad thing to say, but it's a lot of people have been on service trips and a lot of people feel like they were changed by them. And so don't let that can still be the story that you tell, but don't let that be your opening. Use a hook, not something cliche or obvious, something interesting, something that pulls them in. Again, you guys are seniors in high school. I'm trusting you know what a hook is. It's something that grabs the reader's attention right when they set their eyes on the page. Like I said earlier, don't use a cliche, but also do not repeat the prompt. You click a box even for a lot of the schools saying which prompt you chose. So they know there's probably going to be right at the top. They know which prompt you're going with. Hopefully, as they're reading your essay, they can tell. But even if they can't, there's that option that says like write about whatever. They don't really care about the prompt. They care about whether you have a personality and something clear to say and are somebody who they want on their campus. So don't worry so much about the prompt and whether you're being clear about what you're writing about. It'll become clear as they read it. What they want is for you to grab their attention. Here's what that can look like. So instead of this version, my most significant extracurricular activity is my involvement in field hockey, because in field hockey, I have learned the importance of teamwork, perseverance, and hard work. This is very clear. There's nothing explicitly wrong with it. It's kind of nice. They know they're going to talk about teamwork, perseverance, and hard work. Like those are all great things to have and bring to a college campus, but it is not fun to read. In fact, by the time they get to the last 3 words, they've maybe tuned out. Instead, possibly, the day I stopped a goal with my forehead was the day I learned how important field hockey was to me. They're bringing you into a moment. This girl just got bashed in the head with a ball, and most people would hate that, but this girl seemed to love it for some reason. Why is it now important to her? And she's going to go on to talk about teamwork, perseverance, and hard work as she writes, but she doesn't need that in her intro. So if you can start with a moment or a very clear idea or an action, then that's going to shine. Here are some more examples of really strong intros that you don't even need to know what the essay is about. It's just one that you probably want to keep reading, potentially, maybe. These are all real, by the way. Here is a secret that no one in my family knows. I shot my brother when I was 6. This is a real essay, you guys. I read it. It's on the College Essay Guys website. I read the essay. I cried. It was so good. I laughed also, which sounds horrible when you read this first sentence. It told a really beautiful story about this guy's kind of struggle with jealousy with his brother and how he overcame it. But this is, holy moly, maybe the best intro I've ever read. I mean, hopefully nobody out there has shot their brother. His brother was okay, by the way. It was not a fatal wound, but holy moly, is that something that you want to keep reading, right? Oh my gosh, this guy shot his brother. What happened? And so, and it starts with a secret. Ooh, everybody loves a secret. No one in your family knows this, and you're telling me, your admissions counselor? What? That's crazy. Let me read more. How can I not read more? You're inviting me in. That is a great way to think about it too. This is an invitation for them to keep reading. And is this an invitation that they want to accept? This is an invitation that I would absolutely accept. I change my name each time I place a Starbucks order. Okay, this one's a little more lighthearted, right? But still poses a question. Anytime that you have a hook that instantly makes the reader ask a question, in this case, what, why? Is it for fun? Is it for, do you have a hidden identity? What's the deal? What do you change your names to and why? So it offers some lighthearted intrigue, this one. 6 feet. That's what I wanted to be. I like this one because it breaks some grammar rules. It's okay to break some grammar rules stylistically in an admissions essay. This is my chance to tell you that. So don't make it rampant with like your own strange syntax and broken sentences. Like the great majority should be proper grammar. But this one told a story about somebody who always wanted to be taller and eventually came to accept that they were short. While traveling through the daily path of life, have you ever stumbled upon a hidden pocket of the universe? So you can start your essay with a question. If you do it well. I think this one does it well. It's written really well. I love the verbs they chose, like traveling, stumbled. It's really creating like this effect of having a journey, universe, a pocket of the universe. So this is an example of a question asked with really good word choice as well. So, what hidden pocket of the universe has this reader stumbled upon? Because that's what they're setting you up for, right? So I want to know about their hidden pocket of the universe. That sounds a little sci-fi. What's going to happen there? And not a lot of sci-fi in admissions essays. So again, they'd be like, ooh, something maybe a little different here. As it turns out, blondes don't always have more fun. This was the first line of my admissions essay, or something similar to this. It was something to do with being blonde was my intro. And my essay was all about how, I grew up in Southern California as this blonde girl, but like did not feel like I fit in. Yet I was applying to a college in Southern California on the beach. So like, why would I do that? So it provided some opportunities to explain who I was. I didn't have the chance to do a why this college essay, so I kind of used that as my chance too. So Um, there is a link here with like this really great article that talks about, okay, if this is, here's an example of an essay, and here are all different kinds of hooks that you could write. It gives so many examples. And I think it's a great idea to click on that link and read that article, because it's going to give you hope that like no matter what you write, you're capable of creating an interesting hook, because there's so many ways to do it. So I feel like that article there is a great inspiration. Okay, back to some do's and don'ts. So when it comes to the style, you've heard me say this already once. I'm going to say it again. Do show, don't tell. This is not an explanatory essay about you telling them, I am a very generous person. This is you giving you a chance to show that you're generous, if that's like really what you want to highlight, through the different ways that you maybe give time, money, your talents, whatever. Like you show them. It doesn't mean a lot for you to be like, I'm really great. The way that you can show someone that you're really great is by telling them a story that makes them feel like you're really great. And so this is your chance to do that. Don't tell them, show them. Through, and I guess, how do you show them? You show them through that narrative kind of format, or that montage where you're providing them action, images, moments that, again, show who you are. Actions speak louder than words. This is what I mean by that. So here are some examples of what that could look like. So here's the don't. Okay. The summer after my junior year, I traveled to Italy with my grandparents. I had had a really tough junior year with tons of work and pressure. I had spent the year keeping up an A average, playing #1 singles in tennis, and even holding down a job. In Italy with my grandparents, I learned to relax and not take myself and life so seriously. This doesn't work for a variety. I mean, it's fine. There's nothing explicitly wrong with it, but it doesn't work well for a lot of reasons. One, it comes across as kind of complainy and braggy at the same time. The tone is not great. And again, it's just like a little bit boring. Instead, could look like this. On a melting Italian afternoon in July, our rental car steamed into town. Watching the scenery pass by, I was jolted out of my stupor. Was that the Leaning Tower of Pisa? I blinked and straightened up. Oh, what a sight. The Leaning Tower was real. It was also really leaning. At that moment, my commitment to perfection began to crumble. Okay, he's going to go on to talk about the ways that he, felt like, okay, maybe I don't need perfect grades. And okay, maybe I don't need to be the perfect athlete. He's going to talk about those things probably in some form or measure, but he's not going to start with that. He's going to start telling a story and showing that he's capable of change and capable of overcoming perfection through this trip to Italy. Another example, I want to help people. I have gotten so much out of life through the love and guidance of my family. I feel that many individuals have not been as fortunate. Therefore, I would like to expand the lives of others. Well, this sounds great, right? I mean, those are not bad things. Again, when you tell and you don't show, it sounds like a little braggy. My life's been really great, and I just want to make other people's lives great too. It just doesn't have the best tone, and again, a little boring. So instead, possibly, my mom and dad stood on dozens of sidelines until their shoes filled with water and their fingers turned white. That kind of commitment is what I'd like to bring to working with fourth graders. So strong, you guys. This is so good. Instantly, her focus is not on it's on my mom and dad, which gives us, an outward focus instead of an inward focus, which admissions counselors love to see. It shows that her family loved her without telling them that my family was loving. We know they're loving if they stood on sidelines with their shoes filled with water just to support her. Then wow, that's a lot of love. How great. And then she ties it into, that's the kind of commitment I want to bring to my future. So she's talking about her past and how it applies to her future. It's much shorter than the first one, but she says a lot more with it too. Pretty cool, right? So that's what it looks like to show rather than tell. When it comes to the writing process, please use multiple steps and editors. Do not write it all in one sitting. An admissions counselor will immediately be able to tell if you wrote the thing on your own in one sitting. So let's talk a little bit about that process really quickly. I'm not your English teacher. You've had plenty of English teachers throughout the history of your education. I know you know the writing process. This is just kind of my like tips and tricks throughout the writing process for an admissions essay. So the first thing I want you to do is brainstorm, like I said, like write it all out on a whiteboard or whatever, type a giant note, whatever that you can sort through and organize, get it all out. If that feels too overwhelming, some great ways that you can go about this is doing a value sort. The college essay guy, I'll share his link with you. He has a value sort on his website. This is basically an activity you can do that helps you narrow down what you really value most. And based on that, it's going to spark some inspiration, like, okay, why do I value that most? What was the moment I really started to value that the most? How has that value played out throughout my life? That's going to really help get your wheels turning if you're feeling like absolutely super stuck. If it's one of those supplementary essays, do some research. That's your brainstorming step. Talk it out with somebody. I love like a student who doesn't bring me an essay, who's just like, I don't know where to start. And I just get to ask a bunch of questions and like to talk it out. And as you talk, you start to realize what you really want to write about. So that can be helpful especially if you're a verbal processor. Go literally look for inspiration like around your room. Remember the one that I told you about, the stickers on the laptop or the water bottle? Like go look around your room to think about like, okay, what do I love? What really like is quirky about me and my personality, and like what is evident when I look around my room? Like maybe there's like something in there. So go look for inspiration if you need to. One of my very favorite things too, again, if you're like, on earth, like how am I supposed to write this thing? Go read some successful essays. Go read some really great ones. I have a link at the end that you can click on to read a bunch of, it's from Johns Hopkins, a bunch of great ones that will get your wheels turning. Step 2, outline. So please go into your essay knowing at least like, what ideas do I really want to convey? What is my thesis? It should, even if you're writing a narrative, it should still have a thesis. Maybe that thesis is the last sentence of the thing. But it's like, okay, because of all of this, you should know this, and this, right? Like what's the thesis? What's the theme? What's the idea? And create that general structure. That example that I gave you of the chickens, the gal who raised the chickens. It didn't happen at first. She didn't go into it with a really great structure. It took a lot of reworking, but it ended up with a really great structure of a chronological story with snippets, the most important parts of that story. So go into it with like, okay, if this is the paragraph, here's the main idea. If this is the moment, here's what they should know, about why I'm sharing that moment with them. Okay. So really make sure that it has a structure. It's going to flow. It's going to make sense. It's going to lead the reader into want to reading more and more and more and more. Okay. Refer back to the prompt as you're outlining. Make sure like, okay, does this really like answer what I'm trying to answer? Is it clear that I'm going with this prompt? And then ask somebody to look over that outline. So don't wait until you've written the thing to have somebody read over it. This is a great chance to save yourself some time and trouble rather than writing the whole thing out and then someone being like, this is like, I can't track with it, right? So have somebody read your outline before you write it. And then last but not least, draft and edit the thing. Have fun. Like I said, they will have fun reading it if you had fun writing it. So try to have fun. Don't ask too many people for edits. And keep in mind that there's no such thing as a perfect essay. So I love this quote. It's perfectly okay to write garbage as long as you edit brilliantly. And at a certain point, you just need to stop editing and know that it's never going to be perfect. There's no such thing. But it's still going to be good. That's if you've ever read East of Eden, now that you don't have to be perfect, you can be good. Just let it be good. Okay. The Common App gives this little list that I really love of questions to ask yourself as you're editing. I'm not going to go over all of them right now because we're very quickly running out of time. But the one that I really want to point out, because we've talked about a lot of these, or they're really kind of self-explanatory, but this one right here. Does it have a natural style that's comfortable for me and appropriate for the subject matter? I really like that. Does this sound like I wrote it? Does this sound like how I would tell a story to my friends? Maybe not your friends, maybe that's too casual. Does this sound like the way I would tell a story to my aunt? Like somebody that is like close to you, but you still, you know, might dial some things back. Like, what is it? Is it you? Like, I want you to, after you write this essay, read it back and really ask yourself, like, does this feel like me? Does this feel like my voice? Because that's the whole point of this thing. And they're going to be able to tell if it feels like super stuffy and like maybe they feel like, you know, your mom wrote it. Like they'll know if your mom wrote it. It'll be very obvious if you know, a 50-year-old wrote this thing. So don't have your mom write it. But does it sound like you? Is I think a really great question to ask at the end. Okay, like I said, I have these resources that I love. I've talked about the College Essay Guy a few times. He's on Instagram. He has this website. That's the link here with so many resources that I really, really love. He has a lot of like things you have to pay for. That's totally up to you if you want to use that. I really love all the free things that he has available. I really like this little essay here. If Goldilocks gave essay advice, like it's a little like the do's and don'ts, but like make sure it's not to this, but not to that. It's like it's all about finding the right balance in like your tone and style as you're writing this. Essays that worked. So if you need some inspiration, if you need to like really read, I think everybody should go and read like 3 of these, like really get an idea of what a great essay looks like before you start trying to write one of your own. And then one thing I did not talk about tonight were the UC school essays. They have their own prompts and their own way of doing essays. You get multiple prompts and you choose a few. There's this great guide right here to writing those essays and with lots of tips and tricks about how to nail it. So I just wanted to throw that in for anybody who's applying to the UC schools. So, ooh, I feel like I started talking faster and faster as the night went on because remember how I said I love this topic? I could talk about it for hours. And I just talked about it for 1. So I'm going to pause. I'm going to take a drink of water. This is a great chance for you to unmute your mic and ask questions or type them into the chat box. I'll open the chat while you just kind of reflect on all the things I've said. I do feel like this is kind of one of those topics where I've talked for a long time. I've said a lot of things, and there's not a lot of questions to ask until you start trying to write your own. So totally makes sense if you're like, ooh, should I have questions? I don't really have any. I think the biggest question probably on your mind is like, okay, what am I writing about? How am I going to do this thing? And that makes a lot of sense. Okay. If you do have questions that pop up, my contact info is at the beginning of the slides. The slides are in the chat. The recording will be available hopefully tomorrow on our blog. I'll post the link on our Instagram account. And hopefully I'll see you in 2 weeks when we talk about paying for college. So until then, in the next 2 weeks, some recommendations I have. Like I said, you can go through all these slides again on our blog. Start brainstorming that essay, start drafting it, get going on it. The sooner you start, the better it will be. And then between now and then, something I'm going to encourage you to do before we talk about paying for college is to, if you haven't already, looked up the cost of attendance at a few of the schools you're planning on applying to. Really get an idea of how much school is going to cost you, so that when we jump into talking about how to pay for it, you walk into that webinar informed. Okay. Better yet, the bonus points, if you sit down and talk with your parents a little bit about what they're going to contribute, if you haven't already, to get an idea not only of how much is college going to cost, but how much help am I going to have paying for it. Some people will get help from parents, grandparents, godparents, somebody in their life. So if that's you, the next 2 weeks is a great chance to sit down and chat with them and start getting an idea of what to expect that contribution to look like. So thank you so much for joining. Thanks for listening to me gush and ramble about this topic that I love so much. Reach out to me if you feel stuck, and I'd love to help you get unstuck. All right. Have a great night. I'm cheering you on. And feel free to stick around if you do have questions. Otherwise, have a great night.
I had a question really quick.
Yes.